Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Horizon English Stories. I am so glad you are here today. Take a deep breath and let this story carry you back in time. 300 years ago, a man sat alone in a cold, dark room, calculating the exact year the world would end. He drew mysterious blueprints of ancient temples and spent freezing nights breathing toxic mercury fumes, trying to unlock the secrets of life through magic. The world remembers him as a cold genius of reason, the father of modern science who discovered gravity. But he was also the world's last magician. His name was Isaac Newton, and this is his story. London, the year 1936. In a quiet side room at Sotheby's auction house, the air is dry and heavy. It smells of old paper and aged leather. The famous economist John Maynard Keynes stands alone beside a long wooden table. On it sits a heavy black iron chest. Its lock is rusted shut, and its edges are rough with age. This chest came from the private collection of Newton's descendants. It had been sealed for more than 200 years. Keynes slowly lifts the heavy lid. A stale smell rushes out, mixed with sulfur, like an ancient tomb opening. He reaches inside and pulls out a stack of yellowed papers. The pages make a dry, fragile sound under his fingers. He looks down, his brow furrowed. The lines on the pages are not mathematical formulas. They are not laws of physics. Instead, they are strange symbols from alchemy: a green lion eating the sun, and a king and queen joining in a pool of liquid mercury. Every line is written in Newton's own unmistakable handwriting. Keynes pulls out another notebook. This time, it is a religious manuscript. Its pages contain careful drawings of King Solomon's temple, measured like a building plan. Beside them are detailed calculations from the Book of Revelation and lists of dates predicting the end of the world. Keynes turns the pages faster and faster. His fingers grow cold, and his face becomes serious. For the whole afternoon, he barely moves. The warm light of the setting sun throws a long shadow behind him. At last, he stops. He places both hands on the edge of the table and lets out a deep, quiet sigh. The man who explained gravity, the man the world admired as a symbol of reason, had spent decades in secret rooms. He had spent much of his life chasing the secrets of alchemy and trying to decode hidden messages in the Bible. Keynes sets down the papers and looks out the window. In the streets of 20th century London, cars pass by and crowds keep moving. Yet the yellowed pages in his hands point to a completely different Newton. He stays silent for a long time. Then, at last, he speaks words that will shock the world. Newton was not the first of the age of reason. His voice is soft but steady. He was the last of the magicians. Step back in time to the year 1727, to the quiet bedroom where Newton died. A huge mass of manuscripts is taken from his personal chests. Only a small part belongs to physics and mathematics. The rest, more than 1 million words, is filled with notes on alchemy, unorthodox theology, and his obsession with decoding the Bible. The scholars' faces turn pale. The giant of modern science had spent much of his inner life in the shadow of an older, mystical world. A grand mystery has begun. Cambridge, The year 1680. Beside the gardens of Trinity College stands a low stone cottage. Its doors and windows stay shut all year, even in daylight. Passing scholars sometimes catch the sharp smell of sulfur and burning metal, but no one stops, and no one asks. Everyone knows this is Newton's laboratory. Tonight, snow covers the college. A freezing wind sweeps across the river cam and makes the bare branches scrape and cry in the dark. Yet through the cracks of the cottage window, a deep red light flickers like a wild animal breathing in the night. Inside, Isaac Newton leans over a brick furnace. Soot stains his beard, and sweat cuts pale lines through the ash on his face. His eyes are red from long hours without rest, fixed on the heart of the fire. Inside the furnace, a crucible glows red hot. Molten metal bubbles inside it, covered with silver-white foam. The room is filled with thick smoke. The smoke is sharp and greenish. It rises from the heated mercury, crawls along the ceiling, and then sinks back down into the room. The smoke is toxic. Any sensible person would step outside. Newton does not. He draws in a slow breath, almost as if he is tasting the air. He has spent too many nights in this secret room. The burning no longer stops him. He reaches for a small glass bottle on the shelf. Inside is a thick, dark red liquid, like blood. It is an alchemical mixture he has prepared for 3 years. He tips out one drop and watches it change in the candlelight. Then he does something that would horrify anyone who saw it. He touches the drop to his tongue. A bitter poison spreads at once through his mouth and throat. Newton does not flinch. He bends over his papers and writes a few quick notes. Here, at the border between science and magic, he is both the experimenter and the subject. He turns back to the furnace and adds a pinch of fresh powder to the crucible. The flame changes color with each touch. Green, then purple, then white. He is searching for a legendary substance, the philosopher's stone. But he is not trying to make gold. Gold does not interest him. Again and again, on his yellowed papers, Newton writes about an active principle in the universe, a hidden spirit moving through all things. It keeps the planets in their paths. It also guides the changing of matter. Gravity rules the great world of the stars. Newton believes the same power may also work in the small world inside his crucible. If he can understand it, he may come closer to the secret order of God's creation. He believes he is guarding a sacred fire. Then, disaster strikes. The heat surges out of control. A dull explosion bursts from the crucible. In an instant, fire leaps from the furnace and races across a stack of manuscripts on the table. Newton lunges for the water bucket, but the flames are too fast. He can only watch as the work of countless nights twists in the heat and collapses into black ash. Dawn begins to break. Cold winter light enters through the broken window and falls across the ruined room. Newton stands in the middle of the wreckage, his clothes torn, his face black with soot. The last pieces of ash drift through the air like dark butterflies. He does not cry. He does not shout. He does not even look defeated. He kneels and lifts a twisted piece of metal from the burned floor. It is ruined, and yet it catches the morning light with a strange glow. Newton closes his hand around it and whispers, "Fire purifies. It does not destroy." He believes this is a trial on the path to truth. The smell of ash still hangs in the room, but he is already thinking about how to build the laboratory again. Outside, the bells of Cambridge ring for dawn. He does not hear them. Newton's study is in a corner of the main building of Trinity College. Two heavy oak doors, locked again and again, cut him off from the rest of the world. No one is allowed to enter this room. Even his servants may only leave food outside the door. It is late at night. The weak candlelight covers only a tiny space around the desk. Newton sits at the center of that circle of light, his back slightly bent. Open before him lies a damaged Greek Bible. Its yellowed pages give off a faint old smell. Beside it lies a stack of Hebrew dictionaries, their edges worn with use. In the deep silence, the only sound is his quill scratching across the paper. The sound is quick and steady, like someone digging in darkness, digging deeper and deeper into his own mind. He is doing something that, in his time, is dangerous. It is also deeply rebellious. Newton sets down his pen and rubs his eyes. Then he picks up a brass compass and draws a perfectly straight line on a fresh sheet of parchment. Slowly, the shape of a building appears on the page. The careful plan of King Solomon's temple. For Newton, this is not simply a study of the ancient past, and it is not an exercise in architecture. He believes every pillar and every proportion of this ruined temple is a code left by God for humanity. In its measurements lies the structure of the universe. In its design lies a timeline of history, from creation to the end of the world. He is using ruler and compass to measure what he believes is the very mind of God. The candle flame trembles, and the shadows shake on the wall. Newton lifts his eyes and looks toward a stack of hidden papers at the corner of his desk. He secretly rejects the Trinity. To Newton, the Council of Nicaea in the 4th century was a great betrayal. He believes the leaders of the Church changed the original words of the Bible for worldly power. In his heart, there is only one supreme God. Everything else, he believes, was added later by men. If this work is ever made public, he will lose his position at Cambridge. He will be expelled from the Royal Society. He may even be sent to prison. Everything he has built in his life could collapse in a single moment. So he locks his door, seals his iron chest, and writes in silence through the dead hours of the night. He is trapped in a maze of truth, unable to call out for help. Newton turns to the folded pages of the Book of Daniel. One by one, he pulls out its ancient numbers: a time, times, and half a time, 1,260 days. He is not praying. He is using mathematics to calculate the fate of humanity. With the same patience he once used to calculate the paths of the planets, he compares the dates of ancient Egyptian rulers with the reigns of Babylonian kings. He is searching for the exact point where God placed a hidden pattern inside human history. At last, his pen stops. On the page remains one chilling date: A. D. 2060. According to his calculations, that will be the year the world reaches its end. Newton stares at the number for a long time. There is no fear on his face, and there is no joy. He sits in complete silence, like a student who has finally solved his last problem. He dips his quill into the ink once more and writes a line beside the number. "I write this," he notes, "not to predict the end of the world, but to stop those foolish men who keep naming dates, and when they fail, bring disgrace upon sacred truth." Then he sets that paper aside, takes a fresh blank sheet, and begins another calculation. In that late hour, the greatest mind in England draws a boundary for humanity. It is not the boundary of the world's end. It is the boundary of human pride. He sits alone in the candlelight, like a lighthouse keeper, guarding a truth that no one else can see. London, the Royal Society. Newton sits in the high-backed oak chair of the president. The leather armrests feel cold beneath his hands. The hall is full. Powdered wigs, fine silk, and bright metals shine in the candlelight. A young scholar has just finished reading a grand tribute to the Principia, and the applause rolls through the room. Newton does not move. His hands rest quietly on the chair. His eyes drift past the crowd, past the walls, and out into the thick winter fog of London. Behind the applause, he seems to hear another world, the bubbling liquid in his crucible, the soft rustle of Greek scripture, and the careful measurements of the temple's pillars. These sounds have followed him all his life. To him, they feel more real than praise. This great man, honored by the Queen, has never seen himself as only a scientist. In his mind, the universe was never divided. Gravity was the quiet power of God moving through the stars. The fire in his alchemy furnace was that same power working deep inside matter. And the prophecies of the Bible were hidden messages left by the Creator for human beings. To the world, physics, alchemy, and theology seemed to oppose one another. But to Newton, they were three paths leading toward the same truth. One God had written one universe in three different languages. All his life, he moved between the laboratory and the study. He was not jumping from one subject to another. He was trying to bring them together. He wanted to connect the stars and the dust, time and eternity, matter and soul. The applause slowly fades. Newton rises and walks alone toward the great doors. The low evening light throws his long shadow across the cold marble floor. He is the great figure of the age of reason, yet also one of its loneliest men. He is like a sailor crossing a dark sea with a map no one else can read. He travels forward without a true companion beside him. 2 centuries later, when Keynes opens those dusty manuscripts in the light, a deep sense of awe fills him. Those dense alchemical symbols and those calculations about the end of the world are not the wild dreams of a broken mind. They are the price a great soul paid in trying to leave no part of truth unexplored, in trying to make all things whole. That lonely sailor traveled through darkness for many years. He never reached the far shore, but the path he left behind showed later generations how far the human spirit can reach. Morning light now shines through a clean, modern window and falls on 2 old objects lying side by side on a desk. On the left is the Principia, the book that helped build modern science. On the right is a stack of yellowed alchemical papers marked with the green lion and the year 2060. They came from the same mind and from the same pair of hands, hands marked by chemical burns and hard work. For a long time, the world chose to look only at the book on the left. It honored Newton as the father of science and as a master of reason. But it quietly forgot the other side of him, the searching, burning, deeply human side. Yet the man who searched for God's code in secret never truly disappeared. With his life, he showed that the human hunger for final truth may appear in beautiful formulas, but it may also burn in a furnace and rise in silent prayer. When we turn him back from a god into a man, we finally see his full greatness. He was a man of light who kept burning to the end, humble before what he did not know. Morning light moves across the portrait of Newton in his later years and falls upon his calm, searching eyes. He found the date 2060 through mathematics, not because he wanted to announce the end of the world, but because he wanted to warn people against pride. Today, we stand closer to 2060 than Newton ever could have imagined. We use artificial intelligence and particle colliders to explain the world, yet we still live among conflict and uncertainty. Perhaps this is exactly the right moment to remember him. His greatest legacy is not simply a perfect model of the universe. It is this: before the vast ocean of truth, he remained like a boy playing on the seashore, happy to find a smooth pebble or a beautiful shell, before looking up toward the endless horizon. Now, my friend, I want to say something to you. Maybe English still feels like that vast, undiscovered ocean, endless and intimidating. Maybe today, you only learned a few new words, and your progress feels as small as a single shell on a massive beach. But remember, Newton, every word you learn is a beautiful shell. Every sentence that becomes clearer is a smooth pebble. You do not need to cross the entire ocean today. Just keep walking along the shore, slowly and steadily. If Newton's story moved you today, please leave a comment below. Was it his secret alchemy room, his 2060 calculation, or his deep humility that surprised you most? Come back soon, my friend. Expand your vocabulary. Expand your world. Welcome to Horizon English Stories.